Hi, my name is Colin. Welcome to the Fork and Brewer in Wellington, New Zealand. Fork and Brewer began back as an idea in 2010, when there was only one brew pub in Wellington, and brewing as a whole had pretty much evaporated in the area. And myself and a bunch of guys got together. We already had a bar at the other end of the town, Malt House, and we thought the natural evolution for us was to open a brew bar where we could make the beers that our customers wanted. The name Fork and Brewer was chosen because we looked at it as a marriage of food and beer. Traditionally, people had looked at wine and food as matching, and we thought, nah, beer's way better, particularly with some mates and particularly some real stinky cheeses. So we wanted to encapsulate that in the name. So the meeting of the chef and the guy that makes the beer became Fork and Brewer. The thing that motivates us is there's so many styles of beer out there, and Kelly, our brewer, despite his best efforts, has not made half of them yet. We want to continue to push boundaries, but at the same time make accessible beer that people can get their head around, understand and enjoy.
Hello, my name is Kelly Ryan and I'm the head brewer here at Fork and Brewer. I look after our 40 beers that we have on tap here, and I've got a nice lot of equipment behind us here. A whole lot of fermenters, a brew house, even a tiny little brewery, so it's probably a cool idea if we come and check it out. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, we have the brew house. This is really the nuts and bolts of this wonderful sort of machination that is the brewery. It's here that we're taking pretty much what nature provides us, these wonderful seeds, these grains of barley and wheat and spelt and all these other types of cereal, and these beautiful, beautiful hop flowers full of resinous oils and essential oils and lots of smelly, delicious things. So here we are in a part of the brewery that I don't spend so much time in. This is obviously the bar. I like being on that side of it and trying the beers, but we've got a hard-working team of staff that do a great job serving pints and pouring these beverages. So you can probably see a few of them on tap here. There's a lot, again 40, we have 42 taps, we have 2 ciders, then I have 38 of the beers that are served either with nitrogen or carbon dioxide, and then 2 beers we also serve in the classic English style, which has been hand pulled. So behind me here you can see we've got some booths so people can come in and sit down and relax and enjoy a casual meal. We also have our restaurant area where you can get table service and enjoy some of the great fare that our wonderful team of chefs in the kitchen produce. We've also got an external area, a patio, an outside section, and there, I mean, you know, being upstairs in Wellington, we don't have a lot of room, but we make the most of it, and it's really nice to sit out on a sunny afternoon and the sun beats down in there and you can enjoy a beverage and soak up some of the sounds of Wellington. Okay, so Colin and I have chosen a selection of our range. Obviously, to try and taste and explain all 40 beers would make for quite a long video, so we're just going to stick with these 8. First up, we've got Golden Mile. This is our classic German-style Helles lager. It's hopped with a wonderful hop variety called Czech Sarts. Really crystal clear, nice little white head on it. It's a joy to drink, and I'll let Colin do just that.
Thanks, Kel. I got all the tough jobs here. So aroma-wise, you're just getting really subtle, soft malt with a tiny hint of hop coming through there. Really clean, refreshing, but not overly challenging. Nice and light in body, and yeah, definitely a drinker.
Yeah, one other thing about this beer that I really love is the malt variety. It's taken me, this is actually the 23rd batch that I've produced of this beer, and it's probably taken me this long to really perfect it. So the malt that is used in this beer comes all the way from Italy and then is malted in Germany, and I truly think that's what makes this Helles so fantastic. Next up, we're going to try a beer called Wellington Paranormal. So this is a bit of a play on a kind of mockumentary television show called Wellington Paranormal. It uses a lot of these really interesting types of malts called caramalts. I use 4 different types. It's all New Zealand hop beer. It's just a nice, easy drinking New Zealand golden ale, and Colin's about to explain it to you.
Thanks, Kel. Again, a little bit more malt complexity going on here, but again, subtle, delicate hop flavour. Probably a more restrained style being golden ale. Almost harks back to English ale styles, and we put a New Zealand twist on this here.
Okay, so from doing a nice lager and a nice golden ale, we're going to go into something a little bit different, and we're going to try a sour ale. This sour ale is called Press the Flesh. As you can see, it's got a little bit of a haze to it. This is because it's unfiltered. It's also because it's got a load of fruit in it. So for a 1200 litre batch, I use 120 kilograms of pureed apricots and Golden Queen peaches, both from the Hawke's Bay region. It's 4.5%, and I also do something quite interesting and add a little bit of sea salt to it. So this is kind of a take on a German style of beer called a Gose, and Gose came about because the water in the region just had a little bit more salinity than was usual for some of the water around Germany, and this really sort of defined the style. So this is kind of my taste on it. So yeah, this is Press the Flesh.
I think a lot of people can be scared when they hear about sour beers, but it's such a broad church. You get everything from completely extreme through to really subtle nuanced beers, and this is more at the easy end of the scale. Aroma wise, you're getting a big juicy unctuous peach character, light body with a really nice gentle acidity at the end, and that salt character just does help punctuate it, and carries the fruit beautifully. Really enjoyable.
Alright, so from a nice fruit sour, we're going to go to a Belgian style beer, and this type of beer is called a wit beer, or white beer. So this one is called Ma is White, which also happens to be the Te Reo Māori word for white. So we did a bit of a play on that, and it's also quite a famous song. A lot of children learn at school, where they learn all of the colours in Te Reo Māori and learn the vowel sounds for Te Reo Māori as well. So Ma is White. It's kind of a New Zealand Belgio wit beer, because a classic wit beer uses coriander seeds, ground coriander seeds, and orange peel or orange zest. I use those in the beer, and I also use 2 New Zealand herbs. One is called horopito, which is a type of mountain pepper, and the other one is called kawa kawa, which is almost kind of like we refer to as a bush basil, and they're wonderfully fragrant aromatic herbs, and they just add a little bit of something extra to a really classic Belgian style.
On the aroma with this one, you do get that beautiful, subtle, spicy, citrusy character. But then when you taste it, it's really rounded and juicy, and then those indigenous herbs really help punctuate the beer and just cleans up really nicely towards the end.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favourite beers, Ma is White. It's a beer I love to brew as well, because it's quite challenging, using all sorts of interesting malts, things like wheat malt and spelt malt and rye malt. So it's it's definitely a fave. Next up, we're going to try a beer called Cherry 2000. So Cherry 2000 was, the name came from a favourite science fiction movie of mine from the 1980s. And I always liked the idea of kind of getting almost that American cherry pie character with some cherries and a little bit of spice. In this instance, it's cinnamon, and putting that into a nice 5% beer with a little hint of sea salt again, just to help boost perceived sweetness and really sort of balance out the acidity as well. But Colin will tell you about that.
With this one, you're just getting the most subtle on threshold cinnamon character on the aroma, but then when you taste the beer, the fruit's very present, but it's not dominating. And to me, the cinnamon character almost gives the grip that you would get from hops in like a pale ale or an IPA. Again, that salt trick that you use. You seem to like salt tricks and geeky sci-fi references, I've noticed. Again, just cleans up the beer beautifully, and again, not too extreme on the sour scale.
So on this veritable roller coaster ride that we're taking, particularly Colin's palate, we're going to go for something a little bit different now, and this is called a Dunkelweizen. So this Dunkelweizen is called Storm Chaser. So it's an unfiltered German-style wheat beer, and Dunkel it means dark in German, so it's a dark wheat beer. So it means that I'm using things like chocolate wheat malt and some roasted malts to give a bit of caramel and almost chocolate complexity. The yeast strain itself is fascinating. It comes from the world's oldest brewery, which is called Weinstefan Brewery in Germany. So I get this strain over and I propagate it, meaning I grow it up. And the cool thing about this yeast is you've actually got to make it unhappy for it to really throw the types of flavours that you want from it. And also, interestingly, you never use the same yeast twice, because it just completely loses the characters that you want. So I have to grow it up every time that I produce my Dunkelweizen, I also do a Hefeweizen called Long Wheat Cloud. So it's a bit of a process, but again, they're great beers to brew. And let's have a listen to what it tastes like.
To me, this one is the ultimate dessert beer. You've got the kind of chocolatey malt notes on the aroma, along with these kind of banana-like esters, and then when you taste it, it just carries through to that. It's almost like banoffee pie on steroids. Again, big, rich and round, awesome with your dessert, or even a pint before your dessert, or before your starter.
Okay, so since we're sort of moving into these sort of darker, more unctuous beers, the next one we have is a beer which is called Colorado. Obviously taking the mickey a little bit out of the both American and New Zealand spelling of the term colour, but also linking into the fact that this was originally brewed with a good friend of mine called Doug Odell from Odell Brewing Company, which is in Fort Collins, Colorado. So he came over to check out some New Zealand hops a few years back, and we decided to do a New Zealand ingredient take on his famous red ale, which is now called Runoff Red Ipa. So all New Zealand hops, all New Zealand malt. Yeah, it's a pretty good beer.
To me, the thing that defines this beer is the malt complexity. You're getting rich, toffee almost like notes without being jammy and cloying, and then that's really nicely balanced with a reasonably aggressive dry hop character to it as well. I find that some malt forward beers can become a bit chewy after halfway down the glass and whatever, but the balance here with the hop character just brings it back into check.
But yeah, in terms of the hops, it's we use New Zealand Cascade, we use a little bit of Riwaka, and sometimes, depending on the season, I'll use either Motueka or Kohatu hops in it as well. So it's a yeah, again, another fun beer to brew, and it's always great brewing with friends from around the world that come and visit, and having a fun time in the brew house and a few laughs and obviously a few beers afterwards. The final one we have is a beer which is called Miso Stout. So this is really, in a way, my ode to a famous Irish stout that a lot of us will probably know. We serve it using nitrogen gas as opposed to carbon dioxide, and that just allows it to be nice and creamy and not too gassy and very smooth and easy to drink. I call it miso stout because I use a combination of Japanese red miso paste and Korean doenjang paste, which is their term for a fermented soybean paste. And then I also use a couple of amazing hop varieties. One is called Sapphire, which is a German hop, and the other one is called Sriracha Ace, which is a hop that was actually developed between American and Japanese hop growers. And it's just got a wonderfully fascinating character. It can throw things like sort of like orange peel and dill, and even a hint of mushroom, and it's just a really crazy hop. And that combined with the paste and this sort of style of easy drinking kind of 4-ish% stout is that was sort of the plan with this beer.
When Kelly first suggested this beer to me, I'm like, you want to put what in it? The beer itself, beautiful dry stout. The miso adds a real kind of umami character to it, as Kelly said, the mushroom earthy, which is from the miso, and also I think probably from the Sriracha Ace as well. The nitro dispense character just makes it seamless. There's some beautiful rich malts in there that are tempered by that savoury unknown character. Umami, sorry, yes. Yeah, good breakfast stout.
And yeah, so that's it. This is 8 of the giant range. We generally try and keep about 30 core beers on tap, and the other 10 or so will be experimental. Yeah, so I think I'm up to close to almost 170 different beers that have been produced since I've been here. And I'm sure there'll be 170 more in the next few years.